Well, a little brief of issues surrounding the economy. Key micro indicators as at today shows that the Nigerian Stock Exchange market cap stands at 11.46 trillion naira. Brent crude oil price as at today trades at $61 per barrel. Overnight interest rate of 26.45%, and Nigeria's autonomous foreign exchange rate stands at $362.39 US. Later on the show, we'll hook up with business editor who will be hooking up with us live from the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange to discuss more on all of these issues. It's also not news that the central bank has left all rates unchanged, 14%. NPR and all other rates remain unchanged. We'll be looking at all of that during the show. Well, African Development Bank has approved an equity investment of $25 million in Arch African Renewable Power Fund, a $250 million private equity fund for renewable energy projects in Nigeria and across sub-Saharan Africa. AFDB said the fund will provide equity for the development and construction of 10 to 15 greenfield projects. This is expected to add 533 megawatts of installed energy generation capacity from renewable sources in the region. The Assets Management Corporation of Nigeria, that's AMCON, is seeking new investors to take over Polaris Bank. AMCON spokesperson Jude Nwozo says the bank will be put up for sale after the elections. Polaris Bank was set up last year to take over assets of Sky Bank PLC, which collapsed and had its operating license revoked by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The bank was then transferred to the state-owned AMCON for sales to investors. Despite Nigeria's capacity to become the largest supplier and consumer of LPG in West Africa, given its abundance of natural gas, it has many problems that make consumption of gas for cooking unattractive to its citizens. Well, these include failure to produce enough LPG to meet local demand, storage, transportation of LPG to customers, poor subsidy programs to incentivize citizens to replace use for biomass for cooking with gas, high cost of cylinders, high cost of gas in relation to other countries in West Africa and Europe. In many ECOWAS countries, there are special subsidies to attract low-income customers. Well, while Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire consume an average of 250,000 metric tons each year, I think that should be averagely, Nigeria is the largest source of natural gas in the region and the most populous, with almost half of the population consumes only 350,000 metric tons. Now, the figure represents 35% in Ghana, the consumption rate 55%, and 65% in Cote d'Ivoire. The two West African countries have met a UN Millennium Project recommendation that at least 50% of households in the region using firewoods and charcoal will migrate to gas by 2015. Well, Nigeria is yet to do so. A comprehensive energy policy to promote the use of clean energy and reduce carbon from generators, firewoods, and charcoal in Nigeria is long overdue. Well, to look at this, I have the right people in the house. I have the gas people in the house. The National Public Relations Officer of the Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers, Mr. John Yakub, joins us in the studio. And also here I have the Executive Secretary of the same association, NAPGAM, that's Basi Essien. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you for inviting us.
Let me start from here.
Yeah.
We know, let's look at the LPG market in its entirety. Tell us, how have you guys been playing in this market? How has it been?
Well, if you look at the LPG value chain in this nation, NAPGAM, that is members of our association who are owners of plants, are strategically positioned to deliver LPG to the end users. In the value chain, we are even more strategic than where this LPG is coming from. Because before the advent of individuals coming in to build depots in Nigeria, in Lagos, in Warri, in Port Harcourt, what you have was a chain between NLPC that produced LPG and NAPGAM, members of the association who own plants.
Okay.
And with that, we are able to take this LPG to the end user. So without NAPGAM, without plant owners, it's virtually impossible, practically impossible for end users to get gas in this country. So we are there playing between the producers and the end users.
Consumers.
So if you remove NAPGAM, you really cannot get gas to the end user. So you can see the importance of NAPGAM. So we are there positioned to deliver LPG to Nigerians. So we're there playing that role, making sure that gas coming from the producer, whether it is produced locally or imported to this country. Because when you import gas into Nigeria, whether you bring it to Lagos, you take it to Warri or Port Harcourt, it is now the position of NAPGAM member, plant owners, because you really cannot dispense gas to people on the street like you sell kerosene. It must get to the gas plant everywhere in the world before you can take this gas to the end user via the usage of cylinders.
Okay.
To the end users.
Let me throw the second question to Mr. Bassi. Now that brings me to look at it like you guys now stand like electricity distribution companies that distribute power to the consumers. Now, the federal government wants us to embrace the use of gas, which I also agree that is very good, looking at the effects of charcoal, firewood, and all of that. How has this campaign, how has it been, and how are your members keen into this?
Yeah, the Nigeria has actually, based on our position of being endowed with natural gas and a consumption level, which is very, very low. The association has actually keyed into the project of the federal government to take gas to every household in Nigeria. Last year, we started a program we call Creating Awareness and Safe Use of LPG, because we found out that there has been apathy in the use of LPG itself, and we're trying to get people to convert to it. What we do now is we try to create awareness in terms of usage, safety, and for even affordability. In that, when we kickstarted the program, in that program we distributed 500 cylinders to people that could not afford to convert from firewood to gas. And we intend to replicate this in every state in the country. So far, we've done 2 states before December. And this year, we're actually pushing towards getting almost all the states or 3/4 of it. And we're sure that by the time we get this done, it's like an evangelism. We can see the ripple effect. And definitely, will help to assist government to make sure that a lot of Nigerians start using gas in their homes.
Let's look at the challenges now. For me, I see some people on the street. That's what, and I know Nigerians would also be thinking along this line. You see some people just with vehicles park and they're selling gas. Some people just, this is something that's highly inflammable. So what is the standard here? How do you monitor your men? Who are really the certified gas distributors?
Well, it's unfortunate that even people like you have started witnessing issues like this. Gas is supposed to be sold in a restricted environment everywhere in the world, because like you said, gas is highly inflammable. For every cylinder you fill in the gas plant, there is this escape of a little quantity of gas. If you've ever gone to the gas plant to buy gas, even as highly restricted as that place is, vehicles are not expected to move into that restricted environment. If you allow vehicle to come into your plant, such vehicle must have what you call spark arrestor. But unfortunately, like you rightly observe, what you get is that you have small tanks everywhere, people driving on the street to want to dispense gas to others. That's unacceptable. But what do we do from there? It is not our duty to regulate those people. It is not our duty to begin to enforce the laws of this country. It is not our duty to begin to want to punish these persons for doing the wrong thing. But mind you, when you pass such a situation and you just observe and pass, who knows what will happen the next time? Because the explosion of just an ordinary 12.5 kg of gas, I mean, the disaster is such that you really cannot measure it. So I really don't know, but what we're saying is that we are liaising with the regulatory authority to make sure that these things are not allowed. They are not allowed. Because when you see people, far from what you just mentioned, is the issue of where you see small tank attached to filling stations, what they call add-on. It is only in this part of the world that you see an app putting fire and kerosene or petrol together in one place. You don't do that. In other places, you travel far and wide. In other places, the only add-on you get is the natural liquefied gas that you use in vehicles, not LPG. Because if you sell LPG in an open space, for Christ's sake, you are just inviting crisis. And if it happens, like you've seen in so many places in this country, you just be counting the number of casualties that will happen. So what we are doing is that when we see a situation like this, we don't just relent, oh, because it's not our business, it's not our responsibility to report to sanction them, but we go to the regulatory authority. Most times through the NAPGAN authority, through our office, we make this known to the authority, DPRO. Say, look, this is exactly what is happening. Now that people like you are saying it, we will employ you to help us talk to the people of this country. You don't go to buy gas from a gas dispensing vehicle. You are just inviting problem to yourself and to the family. An ordinary handset can take a gas from that gas cylinder, and that would have been the end of the person dispensing gas and the person is buying. So I really don't know how this is going on in this country. Like I said, but let me quickly point this out, that in Ogun and Ekiti, the government has so done it in a way that no person is allowed to sell gas alongside with petrol. Those two states have done that. We expect that across the 36 states of the federation, other state government should look out for it. It is not about profit. It is not about gas selling. Let me just point this out. If you go to United States and you are not going to the gas plant to buy, you can go to any store and pick up your cylinder that had already been filled in the gas plant. But don't fill gas on the street. I want to beg this nation, most especially those who use gas, because for women, they don't care, oh, my gas is exhausted, the next minute I want to cook, where do I go to? Let me go to the next available place and get something for myself. But no, look at yourself, look at the security, look at everything that have to do with you and your family. Because 5 kg, like I said, or between 5 and 12.5 kg, is so bad that alone can destroy a whole family. Just doing that.
It's something very
I want to repeat that selling gas, dispensing of gas is done in a restricted environment. Like I said, you want to drive in your vehicle to a plant to buy gas, ordinarily, that vehicle is supposed to carry spark arrestor. Because you can have a gas cylinder here leaking. Unless you have a high sense of smell, you probably will not realize that you have gas leakage here. In the standard plant that we operate, that is what you call gas detector. It's just there, a small instrument telling you whether the quantity of gas you have in this environment is safe for you to continue to operate. Once you don't have that, oh, you just believe I'm in a plant, I want to buy gas, and you don't have that small equipment, a very small, telling you the quantity of gas you have in the environment, you might just begin to sell gas. Before you know it, the environment will go up.
Okay, John, I see that passion there. Now let me go to Mr. Sebastian. I know he wanted to add something to that. What are the challenges, as we talked on safety and standards now, which he has actually stressed on? Tell us, what other challenges do you face in executing, in carrying out your activities day to day?
Well, the challenge we actually having is adhering to procedures and of operations. It's like the regulator, the DPR, they have what we refer to it as the Bible of the LPG industry. It spells out what you should do and what you should not do. But you say because everybody wants to come into the industry, they don't adhere to this condition, to these safety procedures, which if it's not adhered to, not strictly adhered to, it spells doom. Any little thing you want to kind of like bypass, it may end up in risk. So what we think is that in as much as you want to be part of the industry, abide with all the safety procedures that have been there. We have an operational manual guideline that guides you on what should be done, how even the cylinders should be handled, how to fill the gas, how to handle it, even at home. But the point is, most people don't adhere to these things. And what we say is that gas is good, safe, easy to use, if only you follow the instructions.
Very big on there. If you follow the instructions. Now, let's go to one time at your discussion. I was at one of your forums, and the issue of VAT was brought up again. Government has a role to play in making this business easy for you guys, because we always talk about ease of doing business and all of that. Any updates with regards to that?
Yes, like we said at the beginning, let's start from there. If we must deepen the use of LPGs in Nigeria, NAPGAM must be well positioned with government, cooperating and collaborating with government to make sure that this is done. We are, like I said, like I explained, issuing of free cylinders and others in the political zone. We started with the Southwest, we are in the South. We'll go beyond that. But like you did mention about VAT, we have written officially to government on that. What is the problem? The problem is that what you consume in Nigeria is both imported and manufactured locally. But the problem we will have is that the imported gas is not VATed. The one from LNG, backyard here, is VATed. So you see a lot of off-takers, rather than going to LNG to bring in gas, going abroad, what I mean, elsewhere, outside the shores of this country. And when you look at that position, vis-a-vis the amount of quantity of gas we have in this country, you see, rather than give to the domestic market, you see a lot of off-takers dodging the domestic gas and going for the imported gas. And when you do that and you include VAT, we have appealed in our last meeting in Lagos, the representative of government came and assured us that they were going to do something about that. We're waiting for that. We know they will do something. But what we're saying is that they should do this fast. Because sometimes we are saying that we want to deepen the use of gas, and the one we have locally is 5% higher than the one you are imported. So how do you go about that? And that is why what we have in Nigeria today, you can do that yourself. You can do that arithmetic yourself. If you buy 10 naira from overseas and the mine is buy 10 naira here and you are asking 5 naira, it therefore means that we're going to sign a higher amount. And what do? We don't just take that VAT from them and incur it. We push it to the end users. We push it to those who will, at the end of the day, use this gas to boil water, to boil food, and to do other things. But what we're saying, what we're begging the federal government is this. I know they will do it, but what we're begging is that let's do it quickly, so that the one imported and the one done locally can be at par. Why do you charge 5% for LNG and allow people to bring in gas free of charge? So that is the position. But we expect that, like, I'm sure you were there, and that's why this question is coming up.
Yes.
The man did promise that they were going to do. They did promise that they were going to do something about it. But as we stand today, we are still waiting anxiously to see that materialize. And once that is done, you can see yourself that the price of gas is coming down from 4,000 to 3,008, as it is today now, about 3,005. Even in some plants, you can get it as cheap as 3,200. It's coming down. If that is further pushed by the federal government, I'm sure that before the middle of this year, you will have more cheaper gas, more people playing in the industry, and more users coming to buy gas from us.
Mr. Bassi, we have to cross to the stock exchange. A word from you. What are you saying? Are we taking advantage of our industry? What we have, Nigeria being the 10th, or the top 10, one of the top 10 nations with gas reserves?
I would say, as at now, we are beginning to tap into that. Because if you look at some years back, the industry was virtually dominated by multinationals. Yeah. But today, a lot of Nigerians have come into the business. Look at the terminals. Before, terminals were virtually concentrated in Lagos, but the terminals have gone outside Lagos. Go to Warri, go to Port Harcourt. Even in Port Harcourt, about 3 are coming, 2 are already now. Another 3 is coming up again. And these are indigenous businesses. So we're saying that, yeah, before it wasn't like this, but now we're actually tapping into it. And if government should give the enabling environment with incentives, we can go much more than what we are doing now.
Mr. John, a parting word from you too.
I want to quickly say this to the government, because we are aware that the government have a number of cylinders that they want to push out to the people.
Great.
Free cylinders, we are aware of that. Free cylinders from the government. NAMGAN, my association, is doing that already. We have pushed in over 15,000 cylinders, free, to people so that they can begin to. We are aware that government is also ready to push in already acquired cylinders. What we're saying is that when these cylinders are ready to be pushed to the public, please let us push these cylinders through the plant owners.
Tested people.
And tested and trusted. Due process. Because if we can push out over 15,000 cylinders on our own, contributed by members. You were there the day we gave out cylinders in Lagos. Contributed by members. We are always saying that let this thing pass through the plant owner so that we can give them out to people who will know that will use them. Rather than you having 2 cylinders and at the end of the day you are still looking for one for government.
National Public Relations Officer. I see your job as a PRO of the Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas, Sir John Yakub, and Executive Secretary. He's around here with us, Mr. Basiesian. Thank you very much for joining us on the show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Well, it's time to cross to the exchange. Effiong Ekop is standing by to give us live updates from the floor. Hello, Ekop, take it away.
Hello, Tolu. The market recovered from grounds that were down yesterday, and we've seen index going 0.46% this afternoon. It's something good. Let's bring in Jamil Mohammed, a trader from APT Securities. Jamil, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It was frightening yesterday when we had that flat trading. And I'm happy that the banks have come up to lift the market today. But let's talk about the market being flat. What do you think influenced what we saw yesterday?
And the market, the way we are on the upward trend. You see, the 7 consecutive days we had before, we have a gain run. So yesterday we have a flat run. We have a negative, but a marginal negative trend yesterday. So we expect that the market can go up and go down. And what it means is that the speculators are taking their chances. Whenever they have about 2-3 days gain run, they want to take the advantage of that and make a short gain in that process. So the market returned to the positive trend that it has started about 7 days that has gone before.
During the early hours of business today, the banks were the ones that were able to beef up activities. What particular reasons would you say that the banks shut up manufacturers, insurance, and services subsector, and then all of them struggling for attention on the top trade ladders?
Actually, they even maintained the lead up to the end of the market.
That's the banks?
Yes, the banks. They maintained the lead up to the end of the market. And I've been saying is that our market is, the lead indicator of our market is always banking stocks. Whenever you see banking stock rallying up, you will realize that the market also follows suit, because of the fact that they are the leading indicator of market direction. Whatever the direction they go, the market follows. So in this case, we are approaching the era of earnings that those companies releases their results. Those companies release their results. So in such a case, you see that those companies have a run these days.
How do we match their activities with what happened yesterday when the CBN allowed prime lending rates to remain unchanged?
So when you leave all the rate unchanged, what it means is that you want to maintain what you have before. So in as much as the government wants the rate of inflation to be at this level, they will still want the investment to also continue, so that we will be having foreign investors to maintain, so that our foreign exchange market will be stable. So in such a situation, in as much as we are seeing this rate to the inflation rate to be like this, the exchange rate to be normal, then they continue to maintain that trend. So the trend that the market is exhibiting over a time, it will actually continue in that manner, since the rate has left unchanged.
Okay, Jamil, we don't have much time. Again, thank you very much for coming.
You are welcome.
Program today.
Thank you very much.
Jamil Mohammed, a stockbroker from APT Securities. Tulu, it's back to you.
Ekop, nice. Thank you so much there. Breaking down the figures. Well, market up 0.46%. Thank you very much, business editor Effiong Ekop. Before we go, let's tell you that crude oil prices remain steady at the international market, riding on the back of uncertain outlook for shale gas in 2019. Chief Executive Officer of Schlumberger, the largest oil field services company in the world, Paul Kipsgaard, says the recent volatility in the oil prices has created less visibility and more uncertainty on spending by shale companies this year. Kipsgaard adds that spending from the shale industry could be flat or down this year relative to 2018, while decelerating further in 2020, paving way for OPEC and its allies to earn more revenue. Well, that's our show. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Tolulokpe Ogunjobi. Let's do this again tomorrow, same time, God willing.